Yeah, and I think I'd like to come on to that value conversation in a bit more detail, because I think, firstly, I agree with what you're saying about kind of separating out, statement of work and outcome-based work delivery from the kind of slightly hazy thing that is the gig economy. Because the gig economy, the fundamental difference to me is the gig economy is typically, a lot of it is dealing with an individual.
Yeah.
And if you're using a freelancer marketplace or something like that and getting someone to make you a logo for 100 quid, whereas the statement of work, the level of contract and level of sophistication, it's a B2B interaction, and it's a professional engagement, which could be a project worth £1,000, £10,000, or it could be a project that's worth millions or tens of millions of pounds. It's a much more sophisticated contract and delivery mechanism. Different countries have tried to harness it in different ways, and there's different understandings in different areas. But I also think that it depends which part of an organization is trying to look to address this. So, for example, procurement, or people who are working in as a consultancy category manager or professional services category manager, are very much used to this. It's how they structure all of their contracts. It's how the suppliers are engaged. Whereas in an HR and talent function, it's not. So again, going back to what I was discussing with Georgina, it's kind of this bringing together of the capacity across the organization. And that's caused bringing this kind of meeting of minds between talent functions and procurement to get to more of this kind of more holistic approach. And I think it feels to me that that's, as you said earlier, statement of work is not new. It's been around for a long period of time. It's a contract mechanism. So why does it sometimes feel in the market that it is new? I feel like it's people addressing it for different things, and it's maybe different people addressing it as well. Do you think, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think with anything new, it always brings a bit of confusion. I don't think that's always been helped necessarily by some of the supply chain that have seen it and taken it as an opportunity to do things slightly differently. I think it's important to engage with an organisation that really understands what statement of work is there to do, and it's certainly not there as a fudge to get around any particular kind of constraint that you've got in the organisation. It should be used as a flexible, as you say, it's a contracting tool. It should be used as a flexible way of utilising resources as and when you need it, and understanding the value that you're getting out of the piece of work, and the skills and the experience that you're bringing into the organisation.
Yeah, and just to touch on another point you made about value, if someone's bringing in a contractor or a team of contractors to work on a T&M basis, you were saying that if you're agreeing a statement of work and you're passing on the risk, then theoretically that should be more expensive. But I think, and on the surface, I think it often would appear to be more expensive. But I would question whether it ends up being more expensive all of the time, even though the risk is passed on, because it all depends how effective that time and materials team or individual are in actually getting to the end of the task.
You make a really good point, actually, Johnny, because overall, if you compared it against, having people into time and materials to do the same project, ultimately it should be cheaper, because you will have done the piece of work and the planning piece of work either as part of the statements of work or as part of the first phase. You've got more clarity over what you want to achieve and what you want to do in the process in which you're going to do that, the methodology that you're going to use that's going to work in your organisation. So actually, if you did compare, there's other elements as well that would also mean that it's cheaper overall, because you're giving the risk of when it should be delivered by to another organisation to deliver by that date as well. So ultimately, we will be, as paid, we are taking the risk to deliver that. And if we don't deliver it, we need to fix it or ensure that it's delivered on time and to budget. That's what we're ultimately all trying to work towards. So I think it's an important point that you make, that whilst on the surface it may, if you're comparing the initial talent pool that you're maybe utilising, it may look slightly more expensive, but overall you should reach the defined outcome that you're trying to get to, either on time or within a time frame that hasn't slipped, because you've got that change control process as well within the project to ensure that any changes are calculated and understood by the business.